Hey there guys, welcome to the channel and welcome to another episode here at Celebrate Sausage, where we dedicate a whole month to sausage making. And I gotta tell you, I am very excited about today's episode. It's a sausage that is near and dear to my heart, and it's been kind of like 2 years in the making. And let me just kind of explain what we're talking about today. About 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, a patron of our channel by the name of Jonathan reached out to me and started to explain to me what his wife's favorite salami was. It's from a business in the Seattle area called Salami. You might have heard of it. They sell their products on Amazon, and I'll list some of their products in the description box below if you want to check them out. But her favorite salami, according to Jonathan, was a mole salami. Today's sausage is a salami that is inspired by the mole salami. Now, for those of you that have been watching the channel for quite some time, you already know that I am Mexican on my mother's side and Cajun on my father's side. And mole was a dish that I am quite fond of. Not only eating it growing up, but we currently make it. Matter of fact, if you want to see my mole recipe and make it for yourself, I'll put a link for that in the description box below. Mole, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is a very complex Mexican sauce, generally eaten with beef, chicken, even goat meat inside a tortilla. You can have it over rice or vegetables, and it is absolutely delicious, and it brings just layer upon layer of flavors. Mole is often referred to as the Mexican chocolate sauce because chocolate is used in the recipe, but there's also things like tomato, oregano, and coriander, and onions and garlic and chipotle, and all kinds of wonderful ingredients. And it is an absolute must if you want authentic Mexican cuisine. Let's make the mole salami.
Mexican mole salami. We've got a little pork, a little fat. This is a 70-30 blend, typical for salami. We're going to cut our meat and fat into pieces that are small enough to fit into our grinder. I'm using a number 12 grinder from the sausage maker, so I typically like to cut my pieces a little bit smaller than, let's say, if you were using a number 22 grinder. But either way, depending on how big your grinder is will determine how you cut your pieces. Let's go ahead and pop that into the freezer. We want that nice and chilly so that we can get a nice clean grind. Let's look at our next ingredient. It's a bacterial starter culture known as Flavor of Italy. This is one of many starter cultures that are on the market. I like this one because it's fast, predictable, delivers a really great flavor, but basically it just introduces beneficial bacteria that help ferment your meat, lower the pH, creating a safe environment while it's drying. We're just going to rehydrate the quantity of starter culture we're going to be using, and we're going to set that to the side. If you're new to salami making, I'm going to have a recipe link in the description box below. It's got everything in great detail so that you can hopefully nail it on your first try. We're going to be using beef rounds, 43 millimeter. We got these from the sausage maker. I like this size when it comes to making salami because it normally takes about 5 to 6 weeks, depending on the drying conditions. And in my opinion, it's a lot more forgiving than, let's say a 60 millimeter or a 90 millimeter salami. So that's what we're going to be using. This is going to be rehydrated for a couple hours on our countertop, and then we're going to rinse them out really good before we use them. So our meat at this point is ready to go. It's partially frozen. The temperature of our meat is about 30 degrees Fahrenheit. If you take a quick read thermometer and you're between 30 and 32, you're good to go. So we're grinding this on a 6 millimeter plate. Let's make it happen. Now that is a pretty grind. So let's go ahead and re-chill that while we get our spices together. Let's do a little cure number 2. Next, we're going to add some dextrose. This is a simple sugar that's going to feed our starter culture. That's almost exclusively why we're adding it. We've got chili ancho in the powdered form. I love the flavor of chili ancho in a mole, so you know that's going in there, and a little chili ancho goes a long way. Some of the other spices include chipotle powder, cumin, oregano, coriander. We've got garlic powder, onion powder. These are all flavors that people typically associate with mole, but feel free to adjust this recipe however you see fit. I'm also going to bring a little tomato element to our mole by adding some tomato powder, great ingredient, and then we've got some potato starch. Okay, let's give that a mix while we get our final ingredient ready, because who's ever heard of a mole without chocolate? we're going to be adding an 80% dark chocolate to this recipe. Whatever chocolate you choose to use is good. Just make sure it's high quality. And I'm going to grate it. So I did, debate over whether I should add cocoa powder or just chocolate pieces. And guess what? The chocolate pieces won because I do think that if you add too much powder ingredients to your recipe, it will alter the overall texture of the sausage. So that's what that's going to look like. Let's mix it all up. Our meat was re-chilled. The temperature of our meat right now is around 30 to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which is absolutely perfect. We want it cold at every step. I'm going to go ahead and add all of my spices, and we're going to add our starter culture. And that's it. We're just going to go ahead and mix this the way we would mix a regular sausage. We want it nice and sticky by the time we're done. Let's give it a go. We've been mixing for about 2 minutes. It's nice and sticky. It sticks to my hand when I hold it upside down. This is absolutely perfect. It smells incredible. And it looks like we've got great protein extraction. So this should give us a nice bind on our salami. Let's go ahead and get this into its casing. And there's a couple things you're going to want to pay attention to during this step. The first is the way you tie your casing. You definitely don't want that meat sliding out during the drying process. So we're going to tie a simple bubble knot at the end of the casing. There's lots of different knots you could use. This one's pretty effective. And all we're going to do is tie a simple knot over that casing. We're going to take that flap and toss it over the knot and then tie another simple knot. And it's going to create a little bubble which puts pressure on that initial knot, which is going to keep the meat from sliding out. The other thing that you want to pay attention to during this step is, unlike regular sausage making, when it comes to salami making, you really want to make sure that you pack that meat in there. Natural casings are a little more delicate than synthetic casings, so if you're using a natural casing, just make sure to pack it tight, but not so tight that it causes the casing to burst. If you're using a synthetic casing, those are a lot stronger, like the protein lined or the fibrous casing or collagen casings. You can really put a lot of pressure in there and pack in there as tight as you want. No problem. All right, so we've got this locked up in there. This ended up yielding 2 salami. I'm going to prick it with the sausage pricker, get rid of any air pockets, and then we're going to weigh our salami. By weighing our salami, it gives us a starting weight, and it lets us know when it's finished. I'm going to record 586 as my starting weight, and as I'm doing this recording, I realize it's 585, but that's okay. So my starting weight, 586, and my target weight is 40% less than that, or 351. So once we get to 351 grams, that means we've lost 40%. Our salami is safe to eat. Now, if you want a softer salami, you can actually pull it anywhere between 30 to 40%, and it's all about personal preference. So you get to make that decision. I like a more firm salami, so I tend to target that 40% weight loss. All right, now it's time to ferment our salami. And fermenting your salami is really straightforward. It's all about creating the right environment to allow the bacteria to produce lactic acid, which will lower the pH of our meat. That's what makes it safe during the drying process, or that's one of the things that make it safe. And what we want to pay attention to is temperature and humidity. Those are really the 2 most important conditions of fermenting. Humidity can be achieved a lot of different ways. We want a high humidity, 90% or higher. And how I'm going to achieve that is simply by wrapping my salami in cling film. That's going to trap in that moisture. It's going to keep everything nice and tight, and that humidity is going to stay in that little package, which is perfect for what I'm looking for. Now, the other thing is temperature, and for this starter culture, the temperature that you want to kind of stay in between is anywhere between 70 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. The room that I'm in right now is about 72 degrees Fahrenheit, so all I've got to do is leave this on my counter, and it's going to ferment beautifully. But you could put this inside of an oven with a light on. You could place this inside of a biltong box or a dedicated fermentation chamber. It's up to you. All right, so let's recap. This is going to hang out on my kitchen counter for 18 to 24 hours. The ideal temperature range should be 70 Fahrenheit to 80 Fahrenheit, so wherever you can achieve that temperature is fine. Ideal humidity is 90% or higher, and our target pH is anything under 5.2. I try to target 4.9. That's the ideal pH using this starter culture. And it's been roughly about 20 hours. So let's go ahead and check the pH of our sample. When I make salami, there's a couple things that I'm looking for at this step. This just kind of lets me know what's going on. Now, the pH meter is going to tell me everything I need to know, but just looking at the sample, I can tell that everything's going the way that it should. The texture has firmed up quite a bit. The color has changed. It smells sweet, slightly fermented. So let's just go ahead and test that with our Apera Instruments pH meter and see what it says. Remember, anything under 5.2 is acceptable. We're targeting a 4.9. And let's see where we end up right here. 4.94. I am absolutely pleased with that. No problem. I could let this hang out for another hour or two. Let's test another spot. 4.91. There we go. It looks like we're good to go. Now, if you happen to overshoot your pH, that is okay. Just next time, check it sooner. It's not that big a deal. An overshot pH, if your pH is too low, it just means your salami is going to be a little bit tangy, kind of like a pepperoni or a snack stick. So let's place this into our dedicated drying chamber. We're using one from the sausage maker. This is going to control the humidity and the temperature so that the conditions will be perfect to evenly dry our sausage. What you're going to be looking for is an average temperature of 55 Fahrenheit or 13 Celsius, an average humidity of 80%, and you want minimal airflow. And so anywhere you can place your salami where those conditions are met, you're good to go. You could do it in a basement, a cellar. You could DIY your own chamber. It's all good. The hard work is now behind us. All we have to do is wait until our salami loses 40% moisture, and then we can eat it. And it's now been about 6 weeks. Our salami has lost 40%. Let's give it a cut and see what it tastes like.
The Mexican mole salami, this looks absolutely incredible. I mean, can you see that? Can you see the chocolate bits sort of sprinkled throughout? That's what I'm talking about. Beautiful marbling, almost kind of looks like a stained glass effect, and great bind on the sausage, which was one of the beginning problems that I had when I was trying to formulate this recipe. When you start adding too many ingredients or certain ingredients, it's going to affect the way the sausage binds together. And so I had to take a radical approach to how I built the recipe for the salami, and this is the end result. You're picking up on all the subtle spices, but they come together in this like one harmonious aroma that's just incredible. A lot of umami, a lot of smoky notes. Okay, let's just give it a bite and see how it tastes. Wow. I gotta tell you, I think we nailed it. I mean, this tastes exactly like a bowl of Mexican mole. Now, with that being said, I do have to admit, it is a strange salami. I mean, it's uniquely flavored. Not everybody likes mole. Some love it, some hate it. So if you don't currently enjoy Mexican mole, you're probably not going to enjoy this salami because it really embodies the spirit of that incredibly complex, umami-rich sauce. The chocolate's coming through. The tomatoes coming through. It's a little spicy. And the fat, it's like it just absorbs all the different spices that we added to the salami. And so it's smooth, creamy, very, very delicious. Look at that. Isn't that just absolutely beautiful? If you're into salami making and you're on the adventurous side and you've had success before, definitely give this recipe a go. It's fun. It's delicious, and it is totally different. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. And if you liked this video or got anything out of it, a thumbs up is always appreciated. If you're new here and you like sausages, well, you've come to the right place. Click that subscribe button and that notification bell because we're uploading a brand new sausage making video for you to enjoy every day this month. I don't want you to miss a single episode. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.